Now, it's been 7 months since a mass live event was held in the country. Mass gatherings, from concerts to exhibitions, have faced some of the strictest lockdown restrictions. Well, industry leaders have been in talks with government to discuss new proposals to reopen the events industry. Kevan Jones heads up the South African Communication Industries Association. He joins me now via Skype. Kevan, good morning, and thanks indeed for talking to us. Before we get into the talks with government, live events were always going to be one of the last to see relaxations. The industry must have taken a beating this year, from revenue to jobs.
Absolutely. Good morning, Devon. I think that the biggest challenge is that it happened so unexpectedly, so people simply weren't able to prepare. And so we find ourselves in a situation where many of the companies that were active in the events industry across the board, whether it was exhibitions or conferences or music festivals, business conferences, all of them had the carpet pulled out from under their feet with no notice whatsoever. And because they weren't able to prepare, it really has been calamitous, not only for them, but for their employees and for the freelancers that rely on them for work, and for the casual labourers that work intermittently in the event industry. For almost everybody that was affected by this prohibition on mass gatherings, it happened instantly, and the impact has been devastating.
And it is that multiplier effect that is just so detrimental there. Now, gatherings of more than 50 people are still prohibited under current level 2 regulations. Are your talks aimed at seeing some events open up under the current lockdown, or is it geared towards lockdown 1 or even later?
So I think what we're talking about, and you're quite right, there is still a prohibition on mass gatherings with greater than 50 people. But there are a couple of venues that have suggested that what we should do, instead of having an absolute number, a limit on the absolute number of people that can participate in meetings, is that we transition to a formula that takes into account the size of the venue. So we still need to accommodate safe working practices. It needs to be a safe environment, not only for people that are working in the events industry, but also for delegates and patrons that are attending events. But perhaps a transition to a formula that takes into account the size of the venue. So perhaps what we do is we look at 50% of capacity of a venue in the short term, increasing over a period of time. I think the important thing that we've done is that we've put together a set of safety protocols that will allow events to happen in a safe and effective fashion. And what we've been engaging with the government on is how we can implement those safety protocols to allow events to start happening. There'll be a series of tests. We need to learn from the experience of rolling out the safety protocols. But we believe that it's quite feasible for us, even now, to host mass gatherings of 300 people.
What's the biggest ask from government at the moment?
I think the biggest ask from government is actually one of trust. In real terms, I think government is very concerned that by opening up mass gatherings, they create an opportunity for a second wave of the coronavirus to spread out around the country. And I think what we're saying is, as event organisers, there are systems in place that allow us to host events safely. And actually it's about saying to government, trust us to ensure that those protocols already in place are exercised so that people can participate without increasing the risk of the spread of infection of COVID-19.
Kevan, this might be a difficult one to guess, but if I could ask you, how long before you think we will be able to see a concert in South Africa? Indeed, a very difficult question. One of the things that we are proposing is a proof of concept conference that we're aiming to present at the end of October. And we are hopeful that there will be events that can take place from that point onward. But I think we need to be realistic. Government is not going to open the market up to concerts overnight. They'll start with smaller events,
They'll increase the number of people that can participate in a business conference, from 50 to 300, perhaps up to 1,000. But when you're looking at a big concert, you're looking at an audience of perhaps 3, 4, 5,000. That's going to take a little longer. Realistically, I'm skeptical that that'll happen this year. But certainly smaller concerts and smaller mass gatherings will start happening towards the end of the year. And as we prove our ability to operate in a safe environment, then we will see the size of gatherings increase into early 2021.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Kevan Jones from the South African Communication Industries Association